So, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Tonight we have an exhibition evening with none other than Mr. Mick Hill. We'll let him take it away for the most part and won't really say much at all ourselves.
Good evening, everybody. Jenks here. Hope you're all well. Just about to start off the first frame and the first raffle number to come out will play Nick.
I asked the right man.
There's no pressure. There's more pressure on me than you lot. Put it that way. Who's on first? Does anybody know?
Not a clue.
It's on the list. I think it's on the list.
Probably will be.
Are you on first? Sorry.
There you go, Frank.
I'll get it out of the way.
Go on,
Let's get it out of the way.
Right, so just
Trickshot.
we've got everybody, or
Who wants it?
oh, is that the list for the pot? Yeah.
Yeah.
We've got this.
Oh, well. Thank you. We're ready, are we? Okay, right. Obviously, thanks for coming. Big shout out to the club, obviously, for having me come down. Some of you know me, some of you won't. It's not like I'm any celebrity at all, so some of you may not. But basically, my name's Mick Hill. Luckily enough to win the World Pool Championship on 5 occasions. So I've been asked to come here tonight and do a pool exhibition. So what that is going to consist of is pretty much whatever frames that we've got, maybe 15 or so frames. And what I do at my exhibitions is I don't profess to be any kind of trick shot specialist. So I've incorporated a slightly different way of doing the pool exhibitions where I do a questions and answers session. So that's where I need you to be, have your input, ask any questions you want. I'm pretty open, I'll answer almost anything. And if it happens to be about the game or on a personal note, or if it's something that you want a shot that you may have played and you'd like to know how to play it better, I'm more than happy to incorporate a little bit of coaching into the questions and answers, which is obviously great for, assuming I'm saying the right things, it's great for you guys because you can take something away from it that way. So I've decided that at my pool exhibitions I'd rather do a questions and answers session as opposed to doing some trick shots. I feel like you as the audience get a little bit more from it. I certainly enjoy the questions and answers more than missing a few trick shots and looking a little bit silly. So having said that though, to conclude the evening and what I do again at most of my exhibitions is I do finish off with a very, very famous trick shot which is called the Shoob Shot. I'll explain that a little bit when we get to it, but basically it's me jumping the cue ball off the table into someone's shoe, and that sort of like ends the evening and just kind of puts a bit of a close in. So with regards to the frames, as I said, whoever's got the names, I'll just go through the names. Now, it's an exhibition, not a competition, so don't take it too serious. I won't be, I promise. So I'm not necessarily here to fuel my own ego and come and flog every rack going. It's not really where I'm at. So just come and just come up and enjoy it. You get to choose to break. We have this thing in pool which however you want to put it, but we have this rules issue in pool where everybody likes to play different rules from one pub to the next one halfway up the street. So you just come to the table, say I'll break or you can break me, and by the way we'll play World rules or Blackpool rules, Aylesbury rules, just tell me what they are. I ain't really too fussed about it. Nobody really cares. Like I said, it's just a little bit of fun. Enjoy the night. Obviously I'll be interacting and talking as we go along anyway. So yeah, we're going to play the frames. What I would like to do is when I call somebody's name, I'll call the second person as well, just so that we haven't got the issue of maybe going out, for a smoke or something and just, delaying things and stuff. So I'll call the name and I'll say, can so-and-so be ready next? And we'll kind of do it like that. And as I said, we'll do the frames and we'll do the questions and answers. There is a queue raffle going around. As I was explaining to Sue, just for somebody to win something on the evening. Throw it on eBay if you want. If you think you might make a few quid. Say my signature's worth anything, but I'll sign if you're at the end. If you've got a queue and you don't want it, throw it on eBay or sell it, give it away. It's yours to do what you like with. And that's £2 for 3 for a £5. So that'll be going around somewhere. And also at the end, again, Prince the idea of Jimmy White. Again, not saying I must be famous as Jimmy White. But what Jimmy does at his exhibitions, he does a signed ball for £5. So if there's somebody who couldn't make it tonight who would like to have come, or if you're keen fans yourself, or you've got a little pool room at home and you keep things, I'll do a sign ball for a £5 at the end, and I'll date it if you like, and we'll do all that at the end. And then, as I said to Sue, I won't just rush out the door. I'm not, I'm only living I'm only up in Dudley, so I'm not too far. And if you want to come and have a chat with me at the end, or have a picture, or whatever you want to do, we'll work that out at the end. So, I've rambled on enough. People do say I talk too much. So the first frame is Sean, and then Colin will be after Sean. So if Sean wants to come up and play, and then if Colin can be ready, that would be great. Oh, good start, yeah. Nobody's ready. So there's no pressure. We've a couple of guys here doing the streaming, there's only half the world watching, but there's no pressure whatsoever. Okay, mate, so what rules would you like to play?
They taught me world rules this weekend.
Okay, so we'll play the world rules, and you're going to break?
Yeah.
Okay. All the best.
At least get one shot.
Oh, good start. There you go. When I set them up for other people, they always pop one. I set them up for myself, I never get one. Right, so you've potted 2 reds. You can either go reds or you can go yellows.
Any yellows?
If you pot a red, if you go reds, you don't have to pot one. If you go yellows, you have to pot one.
Yeah, red, I think.
You're going to go red, okay? I've got a slight advantage over everybody. I'm drinking coffee. So I'm not drinking beer. I've got a bit of jet lag from the holiday. I don't know what it is, but it's all right. But now I've been in Thailand for a month, so I've got a bit of jet lag. So that's my excuse if I miss a couple. Plus, I have got an addiction to coffee as well, believe it or not. So. As I get older. I'd have missed that when I was younger. So we've got Colin's on next, and after Colin, if Ryan could be ready, that would be great.
Over here.
I thought it was Sean first. Sean's back. Oh, is it all over? I know that.
No, I'll go.
A bit of both, actually. A little bit of both. Yeah,
No.
I've got a couple of contracts going on in China to play Chinese 8-ball pool. And truth be told, I'd rather be in Thailand, and it's only a 3-hour flight, so I'm trying to get a little bit of a setup going on there, and that gives me the opportunity to dive to China and the Philippines. But in particular, I'd rather be in Thailand, really. How are we're doing.
pleasure.
Would you like to play world rules or
Black ball.
black ball rules? Would you like to break?
I'll have a break.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Come on, buddy.
Nice break.
It's got a better break than you.
He has got. Everybody's got a better break than me.
It was going to be my question afterwards.
That's
I
my,
don't normally pop.
That's my Achilles heel, fortunately. No, not really. To be truthful with you, I don't really practice what I preach. I do a lot of coaching, and I don't practice what I preach because, of course, I preach that you should practice it quite a lot. And I'm not really much of a practicer. And if you're not a big practicer, sometimes your break can suffer because you're not timing the ball as well. Whereas if you practice a lot because you're cueing and you're timing the ball all the time, you tend to hit them good. So normally when I play a tournament, my break gets a bit better as I go on because I've got table time. With regards to a break cue, I'm not I'm not against a break cue, but it's something that I've never really been fussed about, to be quite honest. Oh, the U's and R's, eh?
Been a while saying how unlucky I was.
Hold your horses, it's too far. Seen these, miss. Oh!
Feeling sorry. No, just one.
I want to see you play this ball down the rail.
I tried to go in twice.
Oh, nice. Nice pot.
Sorry to pull my ceiling up.
Wow.
I'm sorry.
They all count. Well done.
Thank you very much.
That's how it's done. So we've got Ryan, and then is it Robin next? You see, it's not that hard to win.
Yeah, RBS. I can feel what's coming up.
Best mate? Ryan, is it? What rules would you like to play, Ryan? Black ball rules? Do you want a break? Well, give it up. I'll let you go. So we've got Robin ready next if you can.
Cheers, Beers. Never leave home without it.
Safety break.
Well, yeah. Use that then.
This is a bit more of a test, isn't it? got Robin and Adam. You can be ready for the next one.
You can play
Yeah,
Do all the rules? Are you going to give them a whack?
I don't think you're going to get many breaks, to be honest. That's probably
That's the norm, yeah, that's the...
Gents, his name now, Things.
Safety break.
Yeah, there's a bit of work to do, isn't there?
Typical Robin, to be fair.
Yellows look good. I've got to go reds, unfortunately. Yeah, that's one of those. That's a pretend miss. That's what I want. Yellows, really. What's the dominant rules around here then? Is it? Don't start. That dreaded question.
We played well in our league.
next year.
Until next year. Covering pockets now, isn't it?
It's really interesting because somebody was. I've got a pool club in Leeds. I'm from Dudley, as you can tell by the accent, but I've been in Leeds for quite a while. I've got a pool club up there. And I was having a conversation with someone last night. We were talking about league pool and whatever else. And from obviously from a club owner's point of view and from a pub perspective, we'd rather be still playing the old rules because everybody's still stuck there all night. You know what I mean? But I think like kind of moving forward, I quite like the leagues where they have 6 or 7 players, but you play 2 frames each because you're playing world rules or black ball rules. It's far quicker. So instead of those nights where you used to go out and you'd still be sat there at half 10, 11, at 3 each or 4 each, fudging away playing EPA rules. At least you're getting a couple of frames a night. So I think from a venue's point of view, you've still got people staying longer, which is, but the people actually playing get more frames. You know, so you play, even better, 3 frames, yeah. That's great. Well, in the olden days, you'd sit there all night waiting for your frame. But I was saying to the guys before everybody come in, was one thing I do like about the black ball rules is it doesn't really matter how hard the frame is or what's going on, you can win. It doesn't matter if it's so difficult, but you can win because you've got that skill shot and you've got that chance to do something. Whereas I think sometimes with world rules, there might be more for the purist, where you have times where somebody covers a pocket, you're going to have to stand there for a good period of time to win. So, yeah, I'm not going to go into which I prefer because I'll probably get into trouble. But
makes the game a lot quicker.
You can ask for that later.
What do you play in the World Championship?
I play on the World Rules Code. But I'm going to answer that actually just because I've been asked. But the reason why I play on the World Rules Code is because I do some work in Australia and New Zealand. And when the breakaway kind of happened, I was doing some exhibition work in New Zealand, and they were trying to push world rules. They were playing what they call New Zealand rules, which is the cue ball is the same size as the object balls, and you're not allowed to play a snooker. They're called New Zealand Charter rules. So they were trying to get world rules for the youngsters to be able to aspire to go overseas and play in the World Championships and not just basically just be stuck in New Zealand playing New Zealand rules when nobody else in the world's going to play. It's a bit like the Aussie rules of football, isn't it? Unless you're Aussie, who's going to play? So I was actually going over there and doing some work. I'm going back over there again this April, and I was promoting world rules out there, and I was doing a lot of coaching with the kids in the schools. They've got a thing called Pool for Schools in New Zealand. So I was doing a bit of that. So at the time, the people that wanted me to go there, they wanted me to play world rules. So there's no, it's not like what the, you know, the public belief of like where of anything against black ball rules or against the people. There's nothing like that. It was just at the time I needed to be playing world rules, so I just stuck with it. Right. On that note, let's try and pot a couple of balls for you. Okay, so we've game plan here. I'll let you into a bit of a secret. Might look a bit silly. Is to play this one, come here, and then play this one and go into these off this one, and try and play it at a pace where I don't knock the red into the middle. So from that angle, I couldn't really get into it without maybe knocking a ball in. So I'll just make a mess of this now. Looks about right actually. Stop. Oh, straight for comfort. Plan B. Or better shot actually. Sometimes this happens, you know, when you watch the pool and it looks like they've like meant everything that they do. They don't. Some of it didn't. Some of it was never meant. It was just make it up as they go along. So I've actually stumbled upon something in which is probably a better shot to try and get the cue ball into this area, which enables me to play it in off the red. It's probably a better shot. Shame I didn't spot it about 3 goes ago, but now it's getting there. So now I've told you I can mess this one up. Okay, this isn't really the ball, but it's the safer one, and I won't look as silly if I don't get there. But that's probably the better shot, but the harder shot. That was a little bit safer. The reason why that isn't quite as good as the other ball though is because that ball's not situated quite as good as that one after I play this one. So that was the slightly better ball, but I've got jet lag, that's my excuse. Oh great. Brilliant.
I bet you could play that again.
So then that happens. Now you're in an absolute world of trouble. You see, of course, again, same scenario where the game changes is when if you were playing black ball rules, off this ball here I'm just going into them, because if the red goes in, so what? So there is a slightly different skill to which rules set you play as far as the way you're going to attack different shots. But I am in a world of trouble here, to be honest. Any ideas? No? Didn't think so.
Intention of that will never clear up.
Yeah. Well, what's quite strange as well is I've actually, because I've come to this stage now again, you do see things as you go along. Obviously, I didn't know I was going to play that and not hit the ball. But again, in hindsight, looking at it, so I had 2 balls here, and I could have actually played one of them and left the other one to potentially play off the cushion, a double off the red ball into the middle, which would have been quite a good shot. I've seen that now, but I don't think I've got the same luxury. But sometimes you see different things. In a match situation here, I'd just put the yellow out towards the pocket and try and stay in the game, but I don't want to get booed out the room. So I'll try something a little bit crazy. It was a little bit crazy. I just tried to come round and
How long will it be playing Robin?
but fudging and covering pockets ain't going to get me paid. Oh wow, it's like that, is it? You got this on camera? Should have made a stipulation. Serves you right. Chris M. And then we've got Rob next after Chris.
You said you don't practice your break or anything, but do you practice like getting out snooker?
No, I think.
Or is that just come with?
No, well, I think that question's interesting because, as I said, I don't really practice what I preach, and I would always say to people that you've got to practice. What I tend with 8-ball though, and some of you here will relate to it as well, is that once you play to a certain standard, you don't really feel like you've got to put loads of practice in, and the reason for that is, it's not a technical game, it's more of a thinking, knowledge game. So when you know how to play and you know how to work the cue ball and you know what shots you're supposed to play, the technical side doesn't come into it that much because it's not really a technique game. Do you know what I mean? Whereas if you're playing, say, golf or you're playing snooker or something like that, you have to practice lots and lots of hours because of the technique element to it. So I don't practice a great deal, if I'm being honest. And that's really because I feel like the more that I practice, the less enthusiasm I've got to play. So I've been playing, I'm 38 now, I've been playing a long time, and I feel like if I'm practicing and then going to tournaments, I get fed up with it really easily. So for me, I'm going to produce my best pool from an enthusiasm perspective, not from a load of practice perspective, because I know I'm going to get fed up with it. So I might do an hour here or there. I might try to play my way into the tournament or something. But as far as hours and hours of practice, not for me personally. It doesn't do me any good. If anything, it's worse for me. So, but that doesn't apply to everybody. I know some of the other players, they love the practice and they enjoy doing it, but it's very much each to their own. There's no. I know Ronnie O'Sullivan said an interesting thing about himself. Was that Ronnie said sometimes he felt like he was practicing out, through guilt. He'd get guilty if he wasn't practicing, and then when you go to the club to play, you're not really playing. You're just trying to cover your guilt of not going. And he said, he kind of stopped doing that as he got older. I'd be more inclined to be that way, as opposed to maybe somebody like a Stephen Hendry or Davis that practice every hour got to. But there's no right or wrong really. It's what works for you. You know what I mean? There's many ways to skin a cat in, as they say. So, right, are we going world rules or black ball?
We'll go rules.
Okay. Good game. So we're going world rules. Now, not to make it a competition of what rules are better than others, but I do prefer the world rules break. I think that the world rules rule of the break I quite like. Well, if you going off now, and let's say that another ball has knocked it in off, well, that can't be deemed to be a poor shot. I mean, another ball has come and hit the ball. Well, I'm only then going to have one visi. Whereas in the black ball rules, I get a free shot and then I get to have a go. And I think that's too big a punishment, certainly at tournament level, for that to happen, because you've as good as lost by a ball kicking the cue ball in. So I'm not so keen on that. I'd rather have the world rules break where it's just one shot if you...
We'll play world rules.
Nice break. Okay, so yellow ball.
Yes, say yes.
Okay. This is the part of pool that I consider to be the real skill. Being able to play the balls in the right sequence and taking the balls in the right order. I think that's the real skill to pool.
Do you ever play snooker?
Yeah, I did. I played a lot when I was younger. Certainly when I was living back in Dudley. Never played. I've never played on a professional tour at snooker. Was never really thrown down that path. But I've played a lot of snooker, yeah. I've played a lot of snooker.
Chris Welling plays boxing.
Yeah, he does.
He switched a couple of.
He's very good at it as well. He's very good at it.
Remember playing in Buckinghamshire, breaking 130.
Yeah, he's very good.
Mellins puts his hand to pretty much any type of cue sport that he can.
He's a talented little bugger, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, easy, Tiger.
Big man.
Yeah, I have played a bit of 9-ball as well. Yeah, a little bit of. I think as a pool player, you're not really just to one discipline. You just kind of go where you can make a few quid, if I'm being honest. You know, if it's 9-ball, if it's Chinese 8-ball, if it's
Chinese 8-ball.
yeah, anything where you. Oh, nice shot. Yeah, Darren's the same year, and Carl Boys, Shaw, you know, they're pretty much.
Yeah.
I'm doing well here. Oh!
No snookers, remember?
No, I won't be. But again, just to kind of, just talking through, obviously in a match situation, I'd just push that to here, push the black down. That'd be really difficult, not only for you to hit it, but if you hit it, the chance are you're not going to fluke it. So try and play the snooker in such a way where you're moving the ball away from the pocket, just in case your opponent comes out the snooker and hits it, likely going to pot it. So that would be the shot I'd play in a match situation. Now, I don't know.
I think you should still do it.
So there's a couple of ways. Now, I wouldn't normally let you into my secrets, but you can play like pretend attacking shots. So, you know, maybe if I weren't talking you through it, I'd pretend to come off the cushion to pop this ball in here, but really I'm just playing safe. But the crowd go, oh, that was a clever little shot. You know, no intention really, but you just kind of hide it. Now I'm going to have to try and do a little bit more than that, aren't I? So, I guess I've got to back myself to pop this in the middle, haven't I? Can't kiss the other ball. If I miss it, I look silly on the stream. Don't go in. Don't go in. So, fortune favours the brave. What next?
Just about to say, if you miss that, you'll be re-auctioned on the Calcutta.
Yeah, I'm quite like. So could maybe come into this area at some point, maybe play the back double off the big pocket and go into these. Not really my type of shot, not really that type of player, because I find it I've got a little bit of OCD where pool's concerned, and I find it very, very difficult to pull the trigger not knowing what's going on, even if it's difficult. So I wouldn't be like that speculative type of player where, well, I'll chance my arm a little bit unless I have to. So I have got a bit of OCD, and sometimes it is my downfall because I try and overplay the situation, but I can't help myself, I'm afraid. So, having said that, I'll put one over the hole just to make sure. Yeah, don't fancy that. Need a few more frames under my belt. Okay, so what I basically play there is just cushion first, just to widen the angle. Now I've got a couple of choices. Again, I wouldn't necessarily be overly enthusiastic about attacking in a match. I would maybe try and find a look somewhere else, but possibly here, maybe just going to play into this area, and I'm probably going to have to play a double of some sort. I don't want to play this to cannon these, and the reason why is because if I miss them, I get nothing, and I'm completely gone. If I play here and I don't get there, I have got options to kind of still keep myself in play. So I'm just going to try and maybe just drop into the middle. That looks short. That looks short of pace. Oh, that might have been an issue. So what have I got here? I've got the snooker. There's always the snooker. I don't tend to play snookers in such. I'm very in trouble. I once had somebody throw a cue at me. It was just a bit of fun. The black was over the pocket, and I decided I was just going to come round the angles, you know, that just little traditional 3 cushions. He's saying the other potted it. I got a cue thrown at me and he stormed out the room. That was in Birmingham. Pub called the Armada. That was funny. So I tend not to do that these days. Don't want to get in trouble. What we got? Let's try this. It's close.
Stop it.
So, still work to do. Still work to do.
It's not the shot that I would play.
Play that one.
Yeah.
Right, so.
Mick, do you mean now, or do you aim to come off the black with the red?
Well, either way, really. I've got the kind of double, but don't like it. I'm going to play this one here. See what I've got this time. Too much side, a little bit too much side. That was quite a big target because if I can move that one, I stay on the double. So now I'm really chasing. I've got this corner double again. Which is a tricky black, I suppose. I've got the corner double the other way. I've got the ball down the rail. I don't fancy that after a month in Thailand. I must be honest. Nah. I really don't like that. So I'm going to play. Oh, this is going to look bad. I'm going to play the coward's double. I'm going to have to because I can't pull the trigger. I can't pull the trigger on the double because I know it's wrong. So I'm going to have to kind of. See, sometimes you get rewarded for doing the right thing. You know what's going to happen here, don't you? I've done all this work, I'm going to miss easy double now.
Yeah.
That's what's going to happen, you watch. What did I tell you? Oh, I actually called it as well. You manage that one. Where's my easy one? Well played. So we've got, that was Adam, right? So we've got Chris M.
Yep.
And next is going to be Rob.
I can't believe I missed the dish to be fair.
I know, yeah, I wish you'd have potted that black now.
Just toying with him, weren't you?
You wanted to see a few shots, didn't you?
Just putting me through the motions. So, can I offer you for the coffee? Okay, mate, all the best. Give him a whack.
Where do you rate
Well, all the tables break. Sometimes you get a feel for. So that would be quite, if I was playing a match, that'd be quite interesting because I'd watch where that rate was hit from, and maybe try and go there myself next time. But a lot of it's how the balls are wrapped. To be quite honest with you, it's very, very difficult for the rack to be the same. We were talking about it just before we started. This new magic rack they're using. You may have seen it, you may not. For the purpose of what it is, it's great. And I certainly wouldn't want to. When people bring out new things in the game, I don't like to have too much of an opinion on them because at the end of the day, you know, they're trying to make a living out of doing things in the industry as well. The best way I could really sum up the magic rack from a politician's point of saying it really is what it actually is made for works. It's 100% works, and you do get a really consistent rack. Personally, I would rather use the triangle because I think you get a bit more variation in the game. I think you get clusters of balls and you see a nice skill level of how you're going to develop awkward balls. You don't tend to get those clusters with the magic rack because they open a lot easier. That becomes a little bit more like a 9-ball viewing perspective where you're watching people run out all the time. If you like that thing, great. Playing the game, I would rather be a bit more involved in playing all aspects, where you've got a bit of tactical play, a bit of potting and everything else. So I would personally prefer to use the triangle, but the Magic Rack definitely does the job that it was made for. So you potted 2 reds. You're going to stay with reds?
Stick with them, yeah.
Okay. Stop. That looks good. Oh. Right. Do you know what happened there? No. When you've come through,
Across it.
yeah, when you've come through on the strike, you've put a little bit of unwanted side on.
Yeah.
So you kind of push the object ball across.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the time when someone misses a ball, they put it down to the fact that they didn't hit the object ball where they wanted to, but it's not always the case, because you know, you've got the cue ball in the centre as well. What we got here? Anything but straight. Anything but straight. Come on, go straight. You know you want to. You know you want to go straight. You know you want to. As good as, isn't it? Cheers, matey. Thank you.
One.
Thank you. We've got. Is it Rob next?
No, we are replacement for Rob.
Okay, yep. And after this next one is Teresa.
That's what the plan was. Oh yeah, I thought, yeah, so I thought it was trying. What, I've got to take that.
How you doing? Yeah. Which rules do you want to play?
I prefer to play both rules.
Okay, mate. Right. Give him a hit if you want to.
Yeah, that's well.
Yeah, that's what I was going to do.
Yeah. Playing full time.
I'm not really. No.
Playing more nine,
There's a line ball going on there. Yeah. Have you been there? No. I'd recommend it. Lovely place. Right, what have we got here? Oh dear. Is that on stream?
Yep.
We delete that one. Delete that one.
Worldwide.
The World Wide Web wants the shot of that magnitude. Oh
That
dear.
was especially
Dear.
streamed to China.
So Mick's actually available for money matches. And
You just got to leave a few shots like that. Try again.
wow.
Come on, Daniel. Come on, Daniel.
Nice and easy.
There is the odd error.
And so the next one.
It's a good one, isn't it? Did you get that one off? Or just the ones I miss?
Just the ones you missed, man.
Just the ones I make a blunder of. Definitely getting luckier as I get older. Whoa! How many flicks did I get there? Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Well done, Daniel.
Cheers. Teresa, and then we've got Mike next.
So we gave a cow on that last shot.
Yeah, I told you I was lucky. Game, world rules, okay. Nice. Oh, yeah. It was yellows, but
That's what I thought.
I'll go reds.
See, hey, I'll get hammered for that on the street.
Felt wrong to go yellows. This is a tester. This is a tester.
Top five.
No, it isn't, mate. No, no. I'll run you through. We do the Q&A. It's quite a. There is a bit of a story to it. You're doing better than most. Well, I'll do. Is the line there? Is the line actually there? You know, I was actually thinking, normally when you play that shot and you hit there, it never normally goes low. It goes the other side, yeah. That's my excuse anyway. Melon would have got it.
Chris Benham would have played off 6 cushions.
He'd have got it.
I always see that replay when he's playing 9.
Nice shot.
Pressure's on now, Teresa.
Cheers, Gary.
What's in?
Thank you, Gary. Well, Gary.
I blame Gary for that. Now he's got to play left-handed.
You know, I actually can't hit the ball left-handed.
Do it.
That's the truth. Kiss. Oh. It's close.
Oh! That would have been.
That looked close. I didn't want on the black. That's my rules.
Okay, it would be with it back to there.
Dudley rules. One on the black, Dudley rules.
Diddly diddly.
Oh dear.
Double.
Dudley rules again. Come on, three cushions in Dudley rules.
Is that for all of us or kind of part?
Just potty.
Cushions.
So we've got Mike. We've got Mike, and then after Mike we've got Pete. Pete's ready. Your choice. Okay, well done.
You know, back to the cushion they might use.
Oh, nice break.
Very nice.
Red ball potted.
You're ready.
Okay, mate. Have a look. So it's yellows for me here. Does that go down the right? Bit tight for my eyes, that. Don't go there. What have you gone there for? What have you gone there for? Flick, flick, go on. Oh! Did you get that one? After a tactical shot. So you cover the back. Oh, hello. Hello then. What you done here? What you done here? We shall find out. You don't go off in the middle. Stop, 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 stop,
Oh!
stop. What's the game?
Good shot.
Thank you. Two shots, mate. I'll do. Stop, 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 stop.
Sure, mate.
First of all, I know.
That's advice for you, isn't it?
Yeah, nice.
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 Very nice. I'm nowhere near as good as this. Oh, good.
Nice.
Mike, stop it, Mike.
Go, Mike!
Look at that for parking.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well played, mate. Well done. That's how it's done, look. So next is Pete, and then following Pete is Amber.
Come on.
Go on, Pete.
If Amber's ready after Pete.
So how long have you been pro for? How long have you been pro for?
I think I started playing when I was 5, but
Oh yeah, Amber.
when I sort of knew what I was doing, I was probably 12, really. When I actually could run a rack, if you know what I mean, I'd be 12. But yeah, I was actually been playing since I've been 5, so too long, isn't it? Was it black ball, was it, mate?
Yeah, black ball all day. Oh, shoot shot.
Yeah, and this is what I was sort of saying before when I'm against the rules. I know, like, in all truth, the little kind of
I was playing bingo.
off in the middle, we absolutely hate that really when we're playing tournaments because it's like a bad rep. But I still feel like the fact that I can just develop the red and then go reds is a little bit. I'd rather change it, just play. You just play, but on that note, that's what I'm going to do actually. That's a statement for the powers that be. One shot off the break, yeah. Miss the red now and then he can go red. What did I tell you? Is there a referee? No? I'll play this red then. Oh. 6 visits. Poppy really doesn't like me. Oh, what we got now? Just kind of winging this one. Make it up as I go along. Tell me I'm on it. Tell me I'm on it. I get a bit too much stun on that, but I'm on it. Oh dear. Oh dear.
Right, okay.
Was that me?
Want a coffee?
Just out of interest, what is the Aylesbury rules? Have you got your own rule set? No, but normally every town you go to, they've got their own set of rules. I just wondering what Aylesbury rules was. It kind of you get 3 on the black, or depends on what pub you're in, and who you're playing against. Kisses all my lover.
Very nice.
A day off.
Come, babe.
How's this work?
Finding
every Wednesday.
Anyone got any sunglasses?
Need a visor.
Oh. Nice.
Cheers, mate. Thank you. What do we have next? Amber is next. After Amber, we've got Sue. Never bite the hand that feeds you. Never. Never. Never beat the never beat the person that booked you. Silly thing to do. That's about the balls. Get legs kicking in. Okay, yeah. I had a feeling you might say that. Oh. Well drawn, was it? I'll just take the one. Looks a good job. No, go on, no, I only take one after the break. It's just quite funny, I missed that one. I thought I was going to miss that one, not that one. You've got to play the one down the cushion now. A good player that gets red to wouldn't they? Let me know when he comes in. One. Kiss. Hell of a chance. Hell of a chance. Shot. It's really horrid. Shot before, was it? Be brave. Be brave. Be brave. Sue, you're next. And after Sue, Frank. Sue, I've got a real strange feeling you're going to win this, Frank. I've got such a strange feeling you're going to win it.
If you let her win, that'll be worse.
What's your rules preference, Sue? Just a bit like me, just hit them? Just hit them rules.
Well, we played the rules you played tonight.
You want a bet?
20.
Yeah, see? He's bottling it! Bottler! Come on, Sue! Come on, Sue!
Sue, you've got two.
She wants to lose.
Annihilate him.
She likes to get a good beating.
Open table, and you've got two.
So you haven't been watching all night. You didn't do that on purpose. We've seen it before.
One more, Sue. Yep.
Well done, Jim.
Oh, covered in pockets, eh?
Yeah, she's still at left field anyway, though.
You're right. So put this one in the middle. That was being cocky, weren't it?
That were a bit, weren't it?
I should have waited before I hit it.
Got no patience.
Nice shot, Sue.
Good pot of ball, to be fair. Sign her up.
Nice.
Oh, Sue! Come on, Sue! Sue, what are you doing November, mate? Champion of champions with us.
That's your fault, because you spoke.
Hopefully they'll be getting it.
Very good. Nice.
Thank you, thank you. So we've got Frank next, and then after Frank, David.
Where is Stuart?
Go on, Frankie. Dr. Frank, go on.
Find him. I think they're on your side, Frank. All the rules, Frank? Okay, mate. All the best.
Come on, Frank.
Give him a wallop. Nice break. I think he was right there, Frank. Frank, I really should go reds here, but I'm not going to.
Fighting for charity, you don't care yellow.
I think I might get booed if I go for reds. Hey! Red was supposed to go in, Frank.
Why, we're not at good tenor?
Red was supposed to go in there, Frank. What went on there?
What wants to play?
Pop as many balls as you can.
As quickly as you can.
Too far, too far enough. Yes, I can move that red, Frank. And I should double that yellow. Oh, yeah. What a muppet. What a muppet.
All right, there you go.
Yellow, get the black out.
Red. What got?
Yellow, get the black out.
Oh, hang on. Tell me about shooting that.
I know.
Can't play it now, I've been coached.
They just play next shot instead.
I can play it this time.
Well,
I think I like the idea of maybe. Ooh, can I get across there?
Mother's always so she has to put the pressure on him.
Fine.
Since I make sure
Go ahead, Frank.
I think there's a road play.
Come on. Easy, Frank, easy. Yes, nice, Frank.
He's lethal, this one. You're the real machine.
Here we go.
It's about time chalk if you want it.
You teasing me.
Everybody else seems to be selling it.
Frank, it's teasing me. What do you reckon?
Yeah, that's a shot.
What rules was it, Frank? What rules was it? Oh, I thought you might say that. No, I'm going to play like an half ball kind of double half ball red. Think you like that. Bounce. Might just be alright. Dribbles in.
Middle bag's begging.
Yeah, he's better than me then.
Better clean the windows, no?
Do you know what, Frank? Can I pop that with that? I'll do that more.
You know what, Frank?
Yeah, that was good then.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, that was a good effort, wasn't it?
No, Frank.
That was a
Come
good
on,
effort.
Frank. Chalk it this time.
Yeah.
That'll do, Frank. Yes, Frank.
Very nice. Come on, Frank.
It was said Webber being a good match. Absolutely.
Oh, Frank. That was so close. That's close. Next time. Oh.
Ollie, Frankie.
Come
on, Frank.
Nearly, Frank. You just potted fella. Don't worry about me. I'll give you the fiver later, Frank. All right?
That's right.
David, you're up.
David.
Is it Kirsty?
That'll be me.
Yeah, okay. So David and then Kirsty if you're ready. Well, so we've not got too many more frames left, so what I need from you for the next part of the next stage of the evening is I need you to think of some questions to fire at me. So don't be
While you're playing?
don't be shy.
This is a Christmas party, so get drunk.
For the next phase, the next phase is the questions and answers. If you can have some questions ready for me, that would be great.
All right, yeah, I'm gonna.
I have. I'm like that. World rules.
Excuse me.
Okay.
Does it know what the questions are about, or is it just like about you?
Be about anything.
Really?
Yeah, I'm like that.
Are you sure?
He was upping his hope.
So we've got Kirsty, we've got Kirsty, we've got Jenks, Andy Taylor. Okay, Jenks, is Jenks here? Okay. Is Andy Taylor here?
Yeah.
They didn't think it was going to be that quick. Poor David loves this time.
Cheers, buddy. See you later. Thank you very much.
See you, mate. Yeah, take it easy, bud. All the best.
Cheers, thank you.
Andy, your choice.
Cheers.
Okay. Nice. He didn't quite lean enough, Andy. Could you just leaned a bit more? The caffeine's kicked in. Kirsty, no. James? Kirsty?
About women.
I can smell a good fire.
To be honest, that's made that night, to be fair.
You don't have to break, Kirsty.
I don't have to.
Of course
Will
you
you
don't.
do that though?
Absolutely.
I'm really no good at that.
Okay.
And I'd like to see you do it, because everybody else has done it.
Okay. Well, I'll get the rules then.
Okay,
Okay.
exactly.
We'll play the rules. Yeah, we'll play. I feel under pressure to pick now.
Pub rules. Just pub rules.
Let's play Blackball rules then.
Well, at least I'm playing one.
Breaks. Are you kidding me?
That's kissing.
Are you actually kidding me or what?
Nope.
Kirsty, any yellow you wish to play?
Thank you very much.
No problem.
I'm so too short to do this. I can't do it.
I have me shot and you dump me. See, catch him more, mate. Yeah, turn up.
We all heard you know that story.
Get luckier as the night goes on.
Very nice.
Okay, so we got Jinx,
Jane.
and then after Jinx we got Gary.
Gary, you're next.
Gary, you want to go next then? So after this one we got Jinx and Wayne, so I hope you all got your questions ready.
No, we didn't.
I'll remind you we've got some young viewers, so keep these questions a bit
I
cleaner.
had.
We've got some young viewers online.
I thought it was better.
West Buddy, those rules. Oh, good break, Gary. Big break. Okay, mate, no worries. Good fly would have moved that. No, too much. Too much.
Oh, there we go.
Brucey bonus.
You're just sneakily moving it on that shot.
Oh, up Gary. Does it just sneak in the middle?
Never.
The far jaw?
I'm an emotional wreck. Key shot here, key shot.
Let's play for it in the middle.
Thank you, it's about to cover the popping area.
Oh! Got it, Gary. Go, Gary.
Oh dear.
Gary, what's happened?
I don't know. I hope things are playing the pace again.
Oh no.
Hello. Teasing you, Gary. Teasing you.
You made the most of this, mate.
I'll have to pop. There's a lot of unrest in the corner. I'll have to pop this. Jenks? Jenks?
Yeah, he's there.
Can you make it 2 out of 10?
Yeah, that's true.
What's your preference, mate?
Shark rack. Play well.
That's like the sharp rack break, isn't it?
Yeah, it's good. Alright, sledgehammer break, mate.
He's teasing me now. Fiver says it's not yellows.
Red.
You might get in Saturday, mate.
Oh,
He's in Saturday.
yeah. Tomorrow?
Playing Saturday.
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
Jenks, I do believe you've overrun that.
We don't worry about things like that. I have had mine.
Don't do it, no. There's a lot of people watching, a lot of people listening.
It's coming out my eyes instead.
Come on, blow. Blow.
Right, one more frame, I believe. Wayne.
Where's Wayne?
Wayness?
Come on, Wayne.
All right, Wayne.
Don't make la la la.
Wait, no. No.
Wayne, are you
Right, Wayne.
using this table?
Yes.
There's no pressure. It's 9 each, and you're on the deciding frame.
Oh, one.
Who decided?
Okay.
Come on, Mick.
All the best.
No way.
It's your choice and your choice of rules. Okay, I like it.
Nice.
Any rules you like? This is the one. Pick the gap. No, then. No, don't you dare. This is a tester. This is a tester.
No one here is currently waiting.
It is the decider. It's a good player, the cannon the black here. Right, so
That's why it's
lucky as
down.
ever.
What
I always get lucky in deciders when it never means anything. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Anywhere along there.
Right, okay, so we've played the frames. Hope you all enjoyed it. I said just a bit of fun. I enjoyed it, so I hope all you did. We're going to come on to that next phase, the questions and answers. Now, as I said, I'm pretty flexible with whatever questions you want to ask. Bear in mind that it is getting streamed. We have got some younger viewers that may be watching at home, and one or two politicians that might pull me to pieces if I say the wrong answers. So go easy on me. I will do my best to answer. Because we're blessed with a bit of time, because we did play the frames quite quick, I'm also open to, if anybody wants a little bit of like a coaching type question where you might say, look, how do you play this shot, or I had this particular scenario in a tournament, and I don't mind kind of giving you my opinion. Now bear in mind, it doesn't make me right, my answers aren't gospel. You know, what I say doesn't mean it's always right, but that's the way I perceive it, or my views on things. So, who's got a question? Kirsty?
I'm not going to ask that question.
Question from Kirsty.
You said earlier that you started playing around about 5.
Yeah.
I was just wondering who was the person who was inspiring you to play at that age.
Okay, so the question was, Kirsty had mentioned that before I said I started playing at 5, basically the reason why and the reason I got into it. Yeah, it's quite a good story, because my family background is my granddad was a very, very good boxer in the army, and his father never really helped my granddad to pursue what he was good at. Then my dad was a really good table tennis player in his own right. I mean, like an exceptional table tennis player.
Philadelphia style.
I don't know how good that is, but and then my dad's brother was a very good tennis player, and they never really got pushed along to maybe see how good they could have got. So when I was younger, I went to live with my grandparents, with my dad. My dad's two brothers were there, and they were always into sports and whatever. We had a 6x3 snooker table in one of the bedrooms in the house. Of course, one of the sides you had to use half a cue and all that kind of thing.
As you do.
As you do. But so I got into playing on a 6x3 table. My dad believed that he could see a little bit of potential and see a little bit of talent, and he basically said, I don't want him to miss out on the opportunity because he might be good at it, as he'd missed out and his brother had missed out with the tennis. So he pushed me with it, pretty much lived on the table from when I was 5, but I genuinely think I sort of learned how to play when I was 12, because there's a difference between playing and just hitting balls around when you can't see and you can't reach. So when I was 12, I played in the local league, and I felt like I knew how to kind of run out the balls and how to kind of clear, and I could break and clear, if you like, when I was 12. So yeah, I did start playing when I was 5, but really at kind of 12 when I when I started to play properly. My dad was the influence on that.
Oh, well, that's lovely.
Yep. Anybody else?
Would you prefer Blue Castle or Ainsworth?
Well, I feel like it comes back to the game, and it comes back to that question of why do some of us feel like pool could have gone a little bit further than what it has. I feel like we've, I mean that table played great, that was fine. There was no issues with it, no complaints at all. I'm a bit of a traditionalist, I like the green cloth. I play in China, and we play like on a kind of a turquoise, and it doesn't suit my eye, to be fair. If I had a choice, I'd play on the green, purely because I'm a little bit of a traditionalist with it, and I think green gives it a professional persona. I think once we start going down these different cloths, I think it gets a bit gimmicky for me, where it seems like we're trying to chase something to promote the game, which has absolutely no bearing on why the game's ever got anywhere or not, in my opinion. And somebody might say, oh, well, we want to get our own identity, etc., etc. Well, we've got an identity. It's the second most played hobby, pastime, whatever you want to call it in the UK, after fishing. And yeah, we've got to get the product right with what we've got. I don't necessarily buy into different colour cloths are going to change that, but that's just me. I'm a traditionalist, I'd rather play on the green. Whether that's Strachan or whatever you want to pronounce it, or Ainsworth, or even Andy cloth that we use in China. I'm not fussed what the cloth is. I feel like I can adapt. I'm not one to complain about tables. I'm not one to complain about roll-offs and kicks and this happened and there was an earthquake down the street. I'm not bothered. I miss the ball or I pot the ball. If I miss it, I miss it. Tough. If I pot it, I pot it, whatever. So, and leading on from that, and the reason why I'm like that is because my biggest pet hate in pool is the word unlucky. Everybody's always unlucky. You know, if we're going to keep saying that we're unlucky, where are we ever going to get to the actual root of who played good, who played bad? Who was the better player on the day? Who was the worst player on the day? We're just going to keep saying somebody was unlucky or lucky. There can never be a winner if it's always a case of, well, he didn't pop balls on the break, she didn't get lucky. Who won then? Nobody won, just luck won. I don't like that. I don't buy into that. So I don't really like to use the word unlucky and things like that. And I don't really complain too much about sort of freak things that happen because I've seen it a million times. So, but yeah, I prefer the green.
Such a strange question. Do you prefer yellow or red balls?
Well, I can elaborate on that a little bit.
I mean,
obviously,
I prefer red because I've read it. I mean,
well, a better question. I mean, when you come to the balls, let's get on to the match of the balls. Now, some of you in here won't know any different other than playing in the pub. But some of the players that have been playing for quite a while will obviously know that recently we've changed to these new Pro Cup balls. And we always used to play with the old traditional reds and yellows and the unspotted cue ball, if you like. This comes back to this cloth thing issue again for me. I don't really get this big fascination about changing these balls. I don't know what it's done.
I still don't answer my question. Red or yellow?
Well, I'll come down in a minute. I don't exactly know what the big fascination about changing the balls, other than people within the industry and finding a new way to make some money by selling some new balls. Can you argue that they're a little better quality? Well, yeah, but why does that mean it makes it any better to play with? The reason I wanted to elaborate on your question was because obviously originally there were spots and stripe balls, or solid and stripes, however you want to say it. What I will say is, from a professional perspective, there's something about the spots and stripes for me with the numbers that makes it a little bit more professional. I don't know why. The reds and yellows for me do make it a little bit more gameish, if that makes sense. However, from a viewing perspective, I think reds and yellows are better because you can get lost in the spots and stripes of, you know, I've seen it in tournaments where somebody's cleared up and they've still got a ball at the top of the table and they go, oh, yeah, didn't even know that was there.
Yeah.
So, from a viewer's perspective as well, but what I do like about the numbers on the balls is you can play a set of rules where there's no flukes.
It's called a pocket.
Yeah, you call the pocket, so it's basically the 7 balls going in that bag, and if it goes somewhere, you know, kind of thing. And so, again, I'm not 100% sure on that one, but
You prefer spots and stripes?
I think it's a bit more professional. But I think this is a bit more easier on the eye.
I know, obviously you're top man at the moment. Probably saw you interviewed when you did Phil and the Supreme Series. There's a lot more money in that. But back in, you know, when you started playing as a professional, not much money. Did you play any money matches, or is that part? Did you have to make a living playing lots of money matches?
No, it was interesting. Obviously, times. Good question, but you know, times do change, and circumstances certainly change. You like to think you get a bit smarter, a little bit wiser. I think what's been quite fortunate for me, when I first come into the game, I grew up with Chris Mellin. Some of you know Chris, some of you won't. Chris, in my opinion, is probably the top 2 or 3 players that I've ever seen play. All right. There's no doubt I'm going to get another question after that. But it's certainly without a doubt. And we're a similar age bracket. We're growing up in the juniors together, etc., etc. And at that time, I really believed that cue sports was at its peak. Now, whether that be American pool, snooker, when you had Hendry, O'Sullivan, Williams, Higgins, Paul Hunter, Stevens, Kendall, I think that was the real purple era, in my opinion. And I think pool was no different. And we had Mark Selby playing tournaments. We had Quinton and the pro snooker player who was great at pool. Tony Drago was coming to the World Championship. Tom Ford, another really good snooker player. And a host of really good pool players around that time. Rob McKenna's of the world, and some of you will be familiar, some won't. And I think the game has really been hit by Facebook, Twitter, social media, Instagram, all these crazy things, PlayStation, Xbox. And you haven't got nowhere near the same influx of players coming through any kind of amateur game to sustain any kind of level. So, and I honestly believe, and it's not to be rude to anybody, I think the standard 15 years ago was higher.
Yeah,
Purely because there was an amateur section in cue sports. You had to be a really good amateur to turn pro. There's no amateur game now for snooker. Hence why everything's going to China, because there's massive numbers there. And it ain't going to be long before half the snooker tour's full of Chinese. Because we haven't got no great English talent coming through because they're on Xboxes, Facebook. So I think social media's had a massive impact. Now, where my 8-ball career has gone is my rivals, if you want to call them, or people that was in my era that I was against, have decided to go and play other cue sport disciplines, and almost left me on my own. And Phil was a little bit before my era, only a fraction. The likes of your Carl Morris, Darren Appleton, a fraction. But the likes of, if we're talking like them players that I really, really hold in such high regard, like Chris, like Darren, like Gareth Potts, they've all gone their own way. So I've almost been left to it. So I've been quite fortunate to get the spoils of things off the table. I don't play that many tournaments, believe it or not, but I do quite a lot of these pool exhibitions. I do quite a lot of coaching, you know, and I'm fortunate in that way, where thankfully I don't have to get involved in the circus of these money matches, because my view is it's a circus. It is to me. I think it's just a circus. There's a load of people putting money on matches that they haven't really got, and when it gets close they want to shout and scream and try and influence the matches and put the other person off because they've got 50 quid on it. And if they lose, they've got no beer money. I don't want to be involved in that. That's my view on it. I'm not saying that I'm right. I don't want any part of it. I'm not interested in that. And as I said, because the likes of Chris and Darren and Gareth and all that, they've gone to play other cue sports, they've almost left me to it. I've made a mini revival because of Lee Kendall's tour, the Supreme Pool Series, which is happening this weekend. I've known Lee a long time. I think the job that he's done is really good. Obviously, you know, there's one or two things he knows that he could improve on, but generally, on a whole, I think he's done a really good job. So that got me inspired to play, and I've kind of got a newfound interest and enthusiasm for it over the last 12 months that I haven't had maybe the previous 3 or 4 years. So I'm back playing tournaments a lot more now, but in truth, I can enjoy the tournaments now. Back in the day, what you were talking about when, say, 1998 to 2003, everything was pressure. You know, you'd be 7 each in a semi-final thinking, oh, if I win this frame, I'm guaranteed another £1,000. And to be quite honest, it was a great challenge, a bit only fools and horses-esque, if you like, where when they've got no money, the challenge to keep going down the market's great, isn't it? They find the watch and they get the big money, and it's like, I've got no purpose now. I want to be skint again. So you lose that aspect. Your desire changes a little bit. So you tend to pick and choose the tournaments to get your juices flowing, which is why I don't play a lot of tournaments. And as I was saying,
sorry, is it your view that rather than you don't play pool for money, you play it for the actual game?
No, I play it because it's my job. I do play it because it's my job, without a question about that. I mean, you know, you do. I wouldn't say I don't enjoy it, but it's a love-hate. There's parts of the job that I really love. There's parts of the job that I hate. The actual playing of the game, I don't find it a particular chore at all. I'm not a big lover of flying all over the place, because I don't enjoy flying. And, you know, we're all different people, and sometimes you're all thrown together in one room and there's different characters and whatever, and sometimes you get on, sometimes you don't. But you made a great point earlier when I first walked in. Those tournaments where I've got to get there at 10:30, play a match and then not play again until 5, and then I might play again at they're gone, to be honest. But yeah, to answer your question, I had more hunger and desire for tournaments back when I first started playing, but I'd rather be in the position that I'm in now, if I'm being honest.
And I'm bad at it, okay.
No, it's alright. Any other questions?
Have you got any children? Have you got any kids?
Little girl, yeah.
How old is she?
9.
Not so little
If,
then.
for example, I know as being a girl, might not. If she showed your potential at pool at 5 years old or at 12, would you encourage her to get in the pool these days?
Well, this is a really.
After what you said about your dad.
No, it's a great question, and in all truth, and I do not to kind of give myself any brownie points or anything like that, but I do pride myself on that when the young kids come for coaching, the first thing that I state is, you have to get your college education. You have to You need some backup here, because I threw all my eggs into one basket, and I've been very, very fortunate. But you can look at certainly playing what we call UK pool. There's only really ever been a handful of people that have made what you consider to be a wage, or what you determine in your life as you know, a salary or whatever. I mean, the minimum wage in the UK now is what, 25k? Okay, it includes London. Yeah, so maybe it's less than that. But what I'm saying is, what you can class as a wage, and then you've got to factor in, it's a short career. You know, this side starts going, you can't win anymore because the next young kid knocks you off your perch. You're not doing it till you're 60, 65. You're not. So there's all those things to take into consideration. So the first and foremost, yeah, I'll give you coaching, come for coaching, I enjoy doing it, I hope you get really good at it. But by heck, make sure you've got a backup, because it's not easy and it's mentally tough. I know so many pool players that struggle with types of depression and bipolar and all things like this, and pool can drive you absolutely bananas unless you're careful. Unless you're careful, because the game itself can drive you bananas. You go to tournaments and you're trying to win to pay your bills, and you dry break and leave the balls all over the pocket. That drive up the motorway is torture. Try flying, I don't know, go fly Japan, it's first to 11, it's 10 each. The bloke breaks and pops the 9 off the break. Oh, well done, mate, yeah. You've got to get on a flight back to the UK. You're just staring at it. It's tough. It's mentally tough, and some people have succumbed to it. They've succumbed to the pressure because it's a real tough. It's like it's poker-esque, isn't it? Bad beats and cards on the river and all that kind of caper. It's very, very similar to that, is this. So I'm not advising somebody to play or not play, but you do need some sort of backup. So on the question that you've asked, you know, I love my sport and I love watching sport, and I'd be advising girls, boys of that age, pick up a tennis racket, pick up a golf club, pick up something. I mean, tennis is great. You've got the competitive aspect, you've got the skill, you've got the exercise factor, you've got the, you know, golf again. And you're talking about whether you're a boy or a girl, you make millions at those sports, irrelevant to whether you're male or female. So, in truth, I'd be given a tennis racket or a golf club, to be honest.
Is she any good at golf?
No, it's alright at tennis though.
Somebody asked on the screen, what's the best practice routine, and do you have a practice routine yourself?
Well, again, I mean, you know, I watch people practice snooker, and I watch people practice pool, and it's interesting, but to fuel our own egos as people, we tend to like to do the things that we can already do. So when you're practicing, you're actually practicing things you can already do. How many people actually practice things that they're not very good at? You know, I see this snooker, this traditional lining balls up down the middle of the table, and I look at that and I think, wow, that looks so tedious to me, just to keep potting them reds in the middle of the table. But just to differentiate the two there, the reason why I think snooker is an easier game to practice, not an easier game to play, an easier game to practice, is because the colours are on the same spots all the time. The balls are racked here, and you see red, black, red, black, red, black. Stun the red, get to the black. Stun the black to the red. So it's a lot of repetition hitting. The same shot comes up a lot. Little middle ball stun shot, if you like. Then you pop the black, it goes back on the same spot. Or we could spend an hour going, oh, well, I want to clear the colours, and I want to practice clear the colours. Well, that's fine, because when we come to a match, the colours are going to be in the same place. So now you've got a little bit of something going on. Where pool is hard is you could see millions and millions and millions of games of pool and break the balls, they never come out the same twice. So you're not actually practicing something as such that's going to keep appearing all the time. But what does keep appearing is similar type of shots. So for me, if I'm going to practice anything, and I get half an hour before a match, for example, I want to just spread the balls, and I want to try and play the cue ball where I want it to go. So I might be at Stoke at the weekend and my opponent doesn't turn up or something. I might just put the ball there. And I might say, okay, I'm going to play the red into the corner and I want to get onto that ball straight in the middle. And I'm either going to play it okay or I'm going to play it bad or whatever. Now, okay, now I've learned something from that. I've learned something from it. I've slightly overspinned it. I don't need to spin it like that on these rails, is the first thing. Obviously I've overhit it, there's no question about that. But I have instantly learned something about that. Now there's a chance if we play 21 frames, that shot is going to come up at some point. Okay, so now I can either choose to play it like that again, and obviously not get where I want to be, or I can learn from that and try and play the shot a little bit smarter, a bit cuter or whatever. But that could be the same in anything. It could be the same in anything. Let's say you don't like queuing over balls. Well, go back to your club and give yourself half an hour. Try and get yourself comfortable with it. Not just go, you know what, I can't play them shots when I've got to queue over balls. Well, what's that all about? Try and play it. You know, just try and do something that you feel like is going to happen in every way, shape or form, in effect. You know, I'm not going to come here tonight and start doubling balls, practicing for tomorrow, because it's going to be a totally different shot. Table's different, rails are different. Nothing is the same. It's a completely different dimension. So that's pointless. If I'm going to practice doubles, I might try and sneak it in before, as I say, before my opponent comes to the table, or I'll get 20 minutes or whatever. But for me, I'm all about basically the cue ball. My strength is my cue ball control. So if I'm going to get half an hour where I can assess where I'm at, I want to try and work on my cue ball. So my advice would be, if you're going to practice something that you can't do, rather than just give up and be defeatist and say I can't do it. Or, most importantly, understand the cue ball. That is the most important ball on the table. That's the one that you hit all the time. The more understanding that you've got of that, the better player you're going to be. If you can understand the physics of that ball, hitting this bigger ball, and knowing where it goes when you hit it in a certain way, you're going to be a better player. There's no question about that. So, yeah, just try and do things that you need to work on. Try and get your cue ball control better.
You just said that the strongest part of your game is your cue ball control.
Yeah.
Why would you work on something that's your strongest part and not work on something that you need to work on?
Well,
and on that point,
okay.
What is the weakest part of your game do you see?
Right, okay, so my strongest part is my cue ball control. Okay, my weakest part of my game, I would say, isn't necessarily anything to play pool. Can I play every shot perfect? No, I can't. Of course not. But I think if I have a weakness, it would be more my mental approach to the tournament in hand. Sometimes I can go to events quite flat. I can go to tournaments where I'm there, but I'm not really there. But I feel like I can't justify not going because it's my job. So there's a little bit of that. But where I'm saying that is the strongest part of my game, I need to get any confidence going. I need to be able to do the things that I know are really going to show up. And this is modern day pool as we know it. Isn't very tactical, is it? Now, if you play world rules, black ball rules, or whatever else, modern day pool as we know it, just as in modern day life, is all 100 mile an hour, isn't it? It's kind of, that's just the way it's gone. So if you've got a layout of balls like this, where would I rate one player? Let's say there's two guys in here, or two girls, I don't know them from Adam. We set these balls up, and I watch two players run out these balls. Instantly I'm going to take a favouritism towards one or the other, and that's going to be determined by how the balls are taken out, the control used, the pattern of the way the balls are taken out, and how easy the finish is made. Right? My opinion is simplicity is the key to brilliance. I've pinched that obviously from Bruce Lee. Basically for me, the better player is the one that makes it look the easiest. not the one that sends the cue ball off 5 cushions to get onto a ball. That's a great skill to have to get yourself out of trouble. But the one that makes it look the easiest is the better player. The one that is always where they want to be, controlling the cue ball, controlling the speed, and taking the balls exactly how they want to take them. So it might be in this instance, that's number 8, that's 7, that's 6, 5, whatever it may be. But that's how I'm going to rate a player. And often people have said to me, why is the person number 6 any better than the person that's number 20? Well, there's a few factors. Pressure's one of them. Maybe circumstances in their life where one's got to work and the other one's got the luxury of playing pool all day. That's obviously a factor. Understanding of how you should take the balls, the controlling how you do it, when to attack, when to defend, when you're supposed to cover a bag, when you're supposed to go game. All of these different factors are going to determine primarily your level of play. Now, with 8-ball pool, and this is as much at the stream as anything else, because the skill level is hidden, this is why we get so many varied opinions of who's better than who. Because it's so hard to determine who's better than who if you're not like a professor of the game. Because to the eye, somebody clearing the balls and somebody else clearing the balls is just perceived to be the same thing. And I think this is why you get so many different opinions, so many different debates where pool's concerned, so many money matches where pool's concerned, because one thinks one person is better than the other. That's why a lot happens as well. And I also think it's why pool players don't get enough credit within cue sports. I'm not saying this is hard as snooker, I'm not saying it's anything or the other, but what I'm saying is there's a real skill to it, and there's a real knack of being able to play the game, but it's completely hidden. Because how many shots when somebody plays a shot, you go, do you see how much side he had on that? That's a great shot playing that with so much side spin, that made the pot so much harder. Or, how's he missed that? Well, he's missed it not because he's hitting it plain ball, probably never miss it, but it's what's trying to happen with it. The side spin, the back spin, the top spin, but all these things are completely lost. And I think more so than anything, when you watch pool on the stream, it looks so ridiculously easy. It just looks so, and it's not. But even when I watch it on the stream, I think, wow, look how easy that looks. But I know it's not, because when you're out there, it looks nothing of the sort. It might be yellows, you know. You could go look at the screen and you go, oh, that looks so easy to run those balls. But they might not, you know what I mean? So I think that is a real thing, a real issue with pool, unfortunately. And even with the guys here that do the commentating and whatever else, I think, and I don't necessarily mean you guys, if I did I'd say it, but I don't, but I think sometimes it's even perceived to be easy. I've listened to commentators and a player breaks the balls and the red goes in and they go, right, that should be the end of that then, go and put the kettle on folks, you won't miss these. Come on, you've still got to pop the balls, you've still got to knock them in. Don't make it sound to the viewer like this is absolutely that Mickey Mouse that somebody can't miss. You know, you never hear the snooker commentators do it. If a player misses a black off the spot at snooker, a kick, lapse in concentration, you know, bomb went off outside. I'm not saying it did happen, but they're always trying to defend the player. Same with the golf. You know, he's this up and down, it's like a miracle, he's got no chance of getting this near the pin. He hit it out the bunker, they're like that, didn't they? Oh, what an amazing shot. Then golfers do that all the time. But the commentators make it sound like it was really, really difficult to give something to make it real. Do you know what I mean? So there is that, and I do think that with commentators, and again, it's only an opinion, but let's not make out this is as easy as what breaking the balls and you've won. You've still got to pot them. You know, you're still under pressure, you're still nervous, you've still got to do it. No matter how good you are, you've still got to do it. So,
what's your thought process when you're running out the balls then, when you're trying to clear out the table? How do you attack? How do you
for example,
which ball?
Yeah, so for example, if it was here, if this was, I mean, these obviously are as basic as they come. But what I try and tend to do is I try to kind of pair the balls together, and not only pair the balls together, but also safeguard things against that can go wrong. So when you see a player play a shot and they land on a particular ball, and it looks like they've definitely played on that ball, not necessarily. They've played into maybe an area to guard against not being on nothing. Okay, so there's that element as well. My game, I think, is all about the cue ball. So I want to feel like I want to keep my cue ball in close quarters. Okay, so looking at this situation now, obviously there's a couple of ways you can go about it. So let's say we were playing this ball first. So if you were playing this ball first, you could maybe potentially play this one here, then play this one here, play this one into here, this one into here, that one into the corner, that one into the middle, and black into the middle. Okay, you could play that way if you wanted to. You could slightly change that. You could play that one and just drop into here, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, 8. Okay, so there's not necessarily a right or wrong in this situation, because certain players are suited to certain shots. Certain players like certain shots more so than others. If you're nervous and you're under pressure, you tend to hit the ball a little bit harder. So you may be going to gauge against maybe overhitting something because you know that you're nervous and you're shaking and all these different type of things. The best thing that I could say about a pool player is to be able to understand yourself in a pressure situation. Understand where you're at. Do you feel nervous? Are you a bag of nerves? Do you feel confident? Do you feel comfortable? To know this as a player is such a big attribute to have. And there's certain players, and it's a compliment more so than a negative, that get so much out of their level of ability. Now you see guys and they've got so much ability, but maybe haven't won the tournaments that somebody that perceives to have nowhere near the same ability. I mean, I'd rather get away from pool with that a little bit, because I don't really want to upset too many people, but from like a sport perspective, if you like. So there's a Jim Furyk at golf who's considered to have maybe the worst golf swing in history. He's won 80 million on the PGA Tour. Not a bad swing, is it? Or, you know, when you look at the snooker and you maybe compare Matthew Stevens' talent to Peter Ebdon's. Or, you know, how great Graham Dott's done in his career. And you look and you think, yeah, but he's nowhere near as talented as so-and-so. Yeah, but look at the trophy cabinet. Look at the prize money won. And there's a fine line. There's a fine line. You can play champagne pool, as I call it, and not win a thing. You can cover the pocket when you're supposed to, and do what you need to do, and win tournaments. That's the preference of the player. That is completely the preference. If you can do both, if you can play champagne pool and win tournaments, that's great, isn't it? Like say people like Chris and Gareth and Apple, great, isn't it? Because they don't only play great pool, they win tournaments as well. But there's also players that don't look like they're playing champagne pool that win tournaments. Carl Morris is a good friend of mine. I don't think he'd mind me saying. Would he be the most talented player you've ever seen? No. He's won a world title. He's won a lot of pro tournaments. He's won a lot of international tour events. Not the most talented. So, you know, it's not all about looking great, is it? Sometimes it's about just getting the job done. You know.
Someone on stream has asked, is there anything that you'd still like to achieve within the game before you retire?
I'm not so sure that I'd necessarily have anything to look back on regarding what we call English pool or UK pool. You know, Australia play it, France play it, and South Africa play it. Whatever, you know, small ball pool. In fact, I don't feel like there's anything necessary that I'm missing out where this game's concerned, if I'm being honest. But then again, I don't judge my career on tournament wins either. I tend to judge my career on what do the other players think of me as a player. So what does Darren Appleton think of me as a player? What does Mellin think? What does Potts think? What do those lads think? You know, and if those lads think, yeah, he's a great player, well, that's good enough for me. Because if they say it, then that's a big compliment. You know, there's a few other lads in that bracket as well, don't get me wrong. But, you know, when those lads say, oh, he's a great player, then that means a lot. That means a hell of a lot. I think when you're talking about how many tournaments or whatever else, I mean, there's a fine line in that. There's a grey area between, it's such a fine line between winning and losing. Do you really want to define somebody's career on what they've won, where this game's concerned? I wouldn't. I wouldn't judge my top 5 in a pecking order wouldn't be on how many tournaments they've won. Because you could go, yeah, but he's won more tournaments than him, why didn't you mention him? Just don't think he's as good a player. That's just where I'm at with it. But yeah, no, I don't think, as long as the people that you really respect think that you're a top player, then what more can you ask for, really?
When you play the finals club, do you look at a cue ball or an object ball?
Oh no, my worst nightmare. My worst nightmare question. My 2 worst nightmare questions is, can you learn me how to pot a ball off the break? No, I can't. And do I look at the object ball or look at the cue ball? I don't know. I think. Let's have a look. Hang on. My eyes are going up. I think I'm looking at the object ball. But I've got half an eye on the cue ball as well. Someone did once say to me, and I don't know if there's any truth in it, but somebody once said to me, if you look at the cue ball, you've got better cue ball control. And if you look at the object ball, you're a better potter. I don't know. I wouldn't like to say that's right or wrong because somebody actually told me that. And I don't know how strong that information is.
If someone told you that, it's something polished. Take a shot and look at the cue ball and tell me, do it now, and see how close you
do. You think I look at the object ball?
I know you look at the object ball.
Yeah.
Right, I've had that question, and I thought, I always thought I look at the white ball. But if you actually do it and concentrate on looking at the white ball and see how close you get.
Yeah, you might be right.
Take the shot then.
Do not take the shot.
No, I think to answer that, I'll look at the object ball then. Yeah, I don't know.
The other thing is, surely once you've got your stance and your cue action right, then you shouldn't need to look at the cue ball anymore. To some degree.
Well, I think
lining up the spin, but
I think a lot of it's muscle memory, isn't it? A lot of it's kind of because you've played the same shot over and over again. You really know what the potting angle is, and you know where you're supposed to hit. But hitting it's another thing, isn't it? Do you know what I mean? That's the real difficulty, isn't it? Is actually trying to hit the spot that you want to hit. If you've completely misread the potting angle, then it doesn't matter if you're at the right spot or not, does it? Because it's the wrong angle. But 9 times out of 10, you've pretty much played enough where you know what the potting angle is. Can you hit it or not? Basically, you know.
I know you can't teach somebody to pot off the break, but I struggle off the break to pot ball. Maybe 3 times out of 10 I do. Do you always put your weight in the same position and hit the same place on the pack?
No, because again, with the break, you can practice the elements of the break. I.e., are you timing it good? Are you hitting it good? Are you hitting it sweet? No good hitting too low on the white, you lose power. No good hitting too high on the white, you lose power.
Yeah.
No good hitting the front ball on the left-hand side and the cue ball spinning. So there are elements that you can do that make you break the balls better.
Yeah.
You know, I've touched upon Gareth a little bit, and I've touched upon Chris Mellin a little bit, and Darren really when he was playing all the time. They always break good. They always break good because they time the ball good. The technique's good. They hit the balls hard. Tom Cousins, another one. They hit them balls flush. Now, whether one goes in or not,
yeah.
Well, somebody else decides that.
So you're saying 2 key things is hitting the ball sweet and hitting it hard.
Well, this is my theory. If one goes in or not, one goes in, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But if you've got the balls racing around the table
Yeah.
more than somebody else, those balls are looking at more pockets, aren't they?
Yeah.
At the end of the day. You know, it's as simple as that. Why do people complain about the balls being racked higher? It's easier to pop balls, isn't it? You bring the middle pockets, you bring more pockets into play. You know, I remember watching the likes of Chris and Gareth and Tom, when they used to hit the break, the balls are racing round the table. It's almost like a miracle if one doesn't go in. You're almost like, how unlucky is that not to make a ball? I'm using that word unlucky again. But because they've hit them so well, they have got a case for saying, I'm hard done by there, aren't I? Them balls are racing around the table. You hit the pack of balls, and there's 5 or 6 come out and never even look like going into a pocket. Well, there's no hard luck story there, is there? You hit them terrible, or you didn't rack them very good, or something happened where you didn't really give it a great chance for something to be. So the probability of somebody like Gareth or Chris Mellin potting a ball off the break, Tom Cousins, is a far higher probability than somebody that doesn't hit them as good, because they're giving themselves more chance for a ball to go in. I don't think it's any big secret why they tend to make more balls off the break as well, and why they win loads of tournaments, because if you don't make balls off the breaks, you can't win tournaments. It's simple as that. So yeah, I think you can increase your chances of making a ball off the break, whether one goes in or not. Nobody's got any control over that, have they?
For me as well, the sound of the crack from the pack.
Absolutely. Yeah.
You can hear, there's a very distinctive
Absolutely.
crack, and you think, God, I've hit them well, or God, he's hit them well, and you can just tell.
Absolutely.
They just hit the spot.
If somebody hits the break, we call it the crunch noise. You hear that crunching noise, that ball hits in the pack, and the pack just explodes, as opposed to a beep. Look. You know what I mean? It's like they don't go anywhere, do they? But when you hear that crunching noise, you know, like kind of, as I said, you know, because they're really good cueists, the likes of your Chris's and Tom and Gabriel, they're timing good. They're timing good. They get the power. They get the power. You know, it's like whether you're playing a 4-handed tennis or, you know, whatever. It's all about the timing, isn't it? Sport's timing, isn't it? And yeah, the better you time the break, in theory, the better chance you're supposed to get one, aren't you? But if they don't go in, what can you do?
Thank you.
Another couple of questions before we tie up?
What's been your record for break dishes during competition?
Right, okay. A couple of matches really stand out. I played a match once. It was the Gangsters Pool Tour 2008, organised by Keith Brewer.
Swindon?
It was actually played at Leicester 147, and I played Craig Marsh. Now, some of you know Craig Marsh, some won't. Craig Marsh won the IPA World Championships for the Black Ball rules in 2017. A very, very good player. And Craig was new to the tour, so I had to give him a 1 start. Of course, it's a level, you know, it's a level game. But I had to give him a 1 start. We played first to 8, and my first 7 breaks I broke and cleared 7 times, and I lost 8-7. I don't know if Craig remembers that, but I remember it like it was yesterday. And I actually missed my finish at 7 each for 8 from 8, so I did get my chance. And yeah, Craig beat me 8-7. I also recall an IPA tour final at Wembley Hilton, 2002, and I played Darren Appleton, and it was 8-6 in my favour, and after the first rack, from 1-0 to 8-6, every frame was from the break. I remember that one very well. There's been a couple with Chris Mellin like that. I've been on the receiving end and I've been on the good side. But those two, what I really remember was the Craig Marsh match where I lost. Tend to learn more when you lose than when you win. Hurts a bit more. And the Darren Appleton match at Wembley. So I did do not 7 consecutive, because obviously you all turn at the break, but I did 7 from my my breaks, if that makes sense. Anything else?
I don't know if you'll know this, but what's your quickest timer or bacon dish?
No idea.
15
That
cents
one,
a-
Most balls made up for break and least shots to make a breaking distance?
No idea.
No.
Sorry.
I actually have one more question for you. I'd just like to know, do you now play just for the fact that it's your job, or for the fact that your heart is still there?
Well, we touched upon it a little bit, didn't we? But it's very difficult to have fun aspects of it when you always feel like you're underneath.
Do you miss that?
Not necessarily, because when you first start playing, you're playing for the game, aren't you? Nowadays, there's a bunch of players that play, in my view, where they're always under the microscope, and what they say gets jumped up all over, and everything's took and whatever else. And as I said, there's four or five players where it's like that. When you win a tournament, I don't feel like I enjoy the win. It feels more relief.
Okay.
It feels more of a relief and a release of pressure. Like, oh, thankfully I won, or thankfully I cleared those balls.
So that's really not.
Or thankfully I didn't miss that finish where I look like a complete donut if I don't get them. Sometimes you play, you know, I get really nervous when I play, and the older that I've got, the more nervous that I get, and I'm more nervous now than what I ever used to. But I think that becomes not only with pool, it's life as well. You learn, don't you, and you see
because of what's expected of you.
Well, you see dangers that you would never see when you was 21 years of age. And that's no different with pool. Now I might play a cannon at pool, and I'm thinking about all the bad things that can happen, and not all the good things that can happen, because it's happened a million times. And you talk yourself out of shots, and you, oh, don't play this and don't play that, because that can happen. When you're young and you're playing, you just get down and play it.
You play for fun.
You just get down, you play for fun, yeah. Now I play because
it's your job.
I can't do anything else.
Another one from the stream. Did you ever consider taking up professional snooker?
Right, okay, the snooker situation is very interesting. I began playing snooker at Dudley Snooker Club, and there's been some very good players out of there. I would say that Martin Clark, who got to number 12 in the world, the late 80s, early 90s. There was another guy, not predominantly Dudley Snooker, but he did go up there, Steve James, who once beat Stephen Hendry at the Crucible in the early 90s. 91, you're right, in the quarter final.
Too much telling.
Yeah, good player, Steve James. So,
what's the score there, Huey? I think it's 37, 38.
So,
I was 7.
Yeah, so I began playing snooker at Dudley Snooker Club. Now, unfortunately for me, my family couldn't afford for me to play snooker for one reason or another. I wasn't fortunate enough to be considered a good enough talent, or luck, or whatever the situation was. I couldn't get free snooker anyway, and it was, I don't know, $3.50, $3.60 an hour back then in the mid-90s. You got to practice 5-6 hours a day, 5-6 days a week. Just couldn't afford it. Now the local pub where my dad used to drink, and he was a pretty good customer. To get my dad in the pub, so he was spending a few quid. The landlord of the pub at the time basically said, if you want to bring your lad up, we'll put the beer cloths down the pockets, so he ain't got to pay for his pool. So I'm in the pool room out the way, keeping myself to myself with the beer towel shoved down the pockets, so I don't have to keep paying for him to get them out the tray. I'm playing pool for free. My dad's happy because I'm quiet, he knows I like doing it. Landlord's happy because he's throwing a few bob over the counter to have a top. So that was really what it was all about. That was really going back to the early 90s. I did play a bit of snooker. I don't know how good I could have been at it, but I never had the opportunity to play it full time because my dad just couldn't afford it. Whereas pool was free. So I'm playing pool pretty much every time he goes up the boozer for free, which was obviously hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of games of pool. So it was just, that was how it was. Whether that had been any good or not, I don't know.
How long did they take the socks out of the pocket and realise that fucking play winner stays up?
yeah.
Anyway.
And everybody else can put the 20s in. Yeah, good point.
Is that where you started to bet on them?
Yeah, no, that was pretty much pub in Dudley, pub in Dudley called the Hare and Hounds, when my dad used to drink. It's not there anymore, unfortunately, like a lot of pubs get knocked down and houses are built and whatever. But yeah, well, we got another one.
We've got Kevin Boyles on here. Advice playing in Catalonia with a hangover, asking for a friend.
Oh, is it Chris, is it?
No,
Kevin Boyles.
Oh, right, okay. No, tell him to bugger off.
You heard him, Kev?
I know him. Another couple of questions before we tie things up?
Yeah, put the cue ball in the shoe.
Say that again.
I'll do that at the end.
I want to see it though.
What's your opinion on Supreme rules? Because we're coming in from, we're going from world rules, we're now going to black rules.
Okay, yeah, good question. So, question. Okay, right, okay. So the question that was asked is, what do I think of the last events rules at the Supreme Pool Series, which have been basically said to be Supreme Pool rules? Those rules at the Supreme Pool Series for the last event is basically Chinese 8-ball rules. As I said to you before, there's a game in China. It's called Chinese 8-ball. So Chinese 8-ball, just to give you an idea of where the rules have come from, is played on a 9-foot snooker table, in effect, with American pool balls, with spots and stripes, playing 8-ball pool. It's a very difficult game, which you can imagine, because you're trying to get the big American pool balls into the smaller pockets. And the Chinese are really good at it. So, you know, you go there, you're up against it, but there's, you know, one or two of the English lads that are really good as well. Same names I've mentioned at this game: Garrett, Chris, Darren, Jason Shaw, the usual suspects. And so we're playing these Chinese 8-ball rules. Now, for a long, long time now, the world rules, not the world rules that we know, the world rules played all over the world on American-style tables, have always been known as the WPA rules. So if you go to Sydney, or you go to New York, or you go to wherever, it's ball in hand after a foul, anywhere that you want. You can play and pot. You can pot your ball and pot your opponent's ball, just the same as black ball rules. You've got to strike a cushion after contact, but you've also got to strike a cushion after contact whether you're total snookered or not. So if you're there, you don't go total snooker and just roll up to it. That ball's got to hit a cushion. Okay, so that's slightly different. There is one or two things that are different. So Lee's decided, or his team, Lee Grout or whatever, nothing to do with me, by the way. Maybe Gareth's in, but I don't know, because he's in China a lot. He's decided that he wants to implement these rules into the last event. I think the reason why he's maybe done it is, I think moving forward, I think he'd like to be playing these rules full time. Now, I know that brings in another issue of, oh no, not another set of rules, here we go again. And I do get that, and I do understand that. But most things are happening in China, whether it be snooker, whether it be 8-ball, most cue sports where it's happening, American pool, is happening in China, in all honesty. Is it a good idea that we play the same rules as China? Maybe so. Maybe so, because how are you going to get China involved in playing black ball or world rules when they haven't got a Scooby-Doo what they are? They haven't got a clue. And that's where most things are happening. Now, I'm not saying that we're going to have massive influx of Chinese players coming over to the UK, but we might if we at least play the same rules. We might have China in the World Championships, we might have a Chinese players, we might. Makes it a bit more global. Maybe they take an interest in it. Maybe that's an avenue where we could we could, you know, progress. I don't see that happening playing black ball rules or world rules. I think the black ball rules and world rules have had their chance, haven't they? They've had enough chances to get something going, whichever code that you're on or what you like, and whatever else. So Lee set up the tour. Again, you know, I don't want to put words in, I don't know, but I'm just trying to assume, just to answer the question. He's put 2 at world rules, he's put 2 at black ball rules. That seems to be probably the obvious way he had to go about it, because he doesn't want to upset either association by playing one or the other. He doesn't want to get X amount of players from one code when he can mix it in and gets players from both codes, which is what he wanted, and that seems fair again. What he's decided to do for the last event, the grand final, as we've said, he's basically played Chinese outlaw rules, in all honesty, but calling them the supreme rules as far as this game's concerned. Now, do I think it's a good or bad thing, is the first question. Do you know what? I don't know, because I've never played it on this equipment. I've played it in China many times, but it's a bigger table. The balls are bigger. It's a different thing. It's a different type of safety. I don't know. I mean, it's like anything. I don't really want to knock something until I've tried it. I've never played the rules on this equipment, so my judgment's reserved. But what I will say is, any tedious where we keep having these different rules all the time. Yeah, I mean, I've come here tonight. We've done we've done what we've done, and every time we come to the table, what rules are we playing?
Let's be fair, you've done most of it.
You know, it's kind of, it's so tedious though. Just pick one. I'll be totally honest with you. I don't care what rules. I'm really not bothered. I don't care if it's world rules. I don't care if it's black rules. I don't care if it's Chinese rules. I don't care if it's Aylesbury Tuesday night rules. I honestly don't care. I honestly don't care what the rules are. Just pick a set of rules and just go with it. Pick a cloth, just go with it. Just get on with it. Just get on with it. All this swapping and changing and different things going on. Yeah, look, if something's not working and there's an opening where it can be better and there's an improvement to be made, why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you do it?
Conflict of interest.
But don't keep changing things for the sake of changing it. Don't change the cloth just because it might look better. Don't change the balls just because of whatever. Don't change the rules just for the sake of changing them. Change because you genuinely think moving forward it's going to help promote the game and we might actually get somewhere.
Well,
And I don't think the decisions are always made for that.
that was very well said.
Was there going to be a question of it? No? I thought there was a... Right, one more question and then we'll wrap it up. Make it a good one.
What do you think to the EPA not allowing their players to play black ball at county level or above when other countries allow it?
Right, okay, so we're really
Could you repeat that?
To be fair, there's a lot more political questions.
Listen, I don't mind answering the political questions because I like to get it off my chest.
Cool.
I'll stand here for the next 10 minutes and answer a few.
I've got a couple more for you.
Unless somebody's getting bored. Right, what's my view on this? My view on this, where we're talking about what you can and can't play, really comes down to what are the people offering you who are telling you that you can't play? And I'll put it to you like this. Snooker players sign contracts. Jordan Spieth on the PGA Tour has got himself in a bit of bother because he hasn't played 25 events. He's played 24 and he didn't qualify for the Tour Championship, which he thought he was gonna, which would have been his 25th tournament. It was 24. So Jordan Spieth's got himself. This is golf. This is one of the biggest sports in the world. You know, don't get any bigger than golf, right? We've had that issue with Serena Williams the other week at the US Open, and now she's claiming it's something to do with women's rights and whatever. I don't know because I don't know the woman. But things happen in sports what are real. These are proper sports where billionaires are made. You don't think this only goes on in pool, where you've got to decide where you're going to play? Of course it goes on in other sports. It happens in darts all the time. You're going to play at the lakeside or you're going to play at the alley pally. Why is nobody screaming about that? Nobody's screaming about it because dart players are now making millions of pounds. If the powers that be that are doing this, if the IPA came around and gone, it's 25 grand a tournament next year, but don't think you're going to start playing that county and that EPA and all that carry on, even if they let you, they wouldn't care. They go, why would I want to bother playing that? 25 grand the winner here. Of course, no problem. If you tell me not to play, of course I won't play. The big issue in pool, because there's very little money in it, people don't like being told where they can and can't play. Because it's, I want to grab money from that pot, then I want to jump over and grab money from that pot, then I want to do, and I'm not saying that they're wrong, I'm not saying that they're right either, but this is why you've always got this big issue of this politics of he can't play this code and he can't play that. If there was proper money in the game and you were getting told what you can and can't do, like they do in darts, like they're doing in all the other sports, nobody'd care. There's politics in pigeon racing, there's politics in anything, politics in everything. What's my opinion on it? It's complete tosh, isn't it? It's complete tosh, isn't it?
It's not going to be money in it, is it? Until it becomes a spectator sport again.
Well, I'll put it to you like this. I'll put it to you like this, again, pool players. And again, I'm not saying that they're wrong because there's not enough money in it. Is it a good thing people keep creating their own tournaments? So, we've got two governing bodies doing what they're doing. There's obviously unrest, so somebody's decided they're going to run their tour. Okay, I'm not saying that there's anything wrong with that. But then the game gets dissected into different categories, doesn't it? Different sections. So unless it all gets under one banner, however it happens, it can never be anything. So whether you can play a game of county or whether you can play a game of Super League, is that really what we think is the big issue? That's not what the big issue is, it? The big issue is getting sponsors and getting big money into the game, so these conversations would never happen. Now whether that can happen with what we've got and the product that we've got, I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure. It's not been done yet. And there's enough people had a go at it. So I think all that is a complete cover-up of what the real issues are. The real issues are get some money into the game, get some sponsors into the game, and whether you can play county or interleague down at Yarmouth wouldn't even come into your mind. That's the top and bottom of it. Yeah. And at the moment, you know, you've got it's dissected that much where it just can't sustain itself. You're just playing for other people's entry fees. Anybody can start a tournament tomorrow and play for somebody's entry fees. That's not how sports work. They're all businesses. Matchroom Sport, the PGA Tour, the tennis tour. They're all businesses. They're all business models, and everybody's making money. And Tiger Woods doesn't care if the PGA Tour made 5 billion and he only made 1 billion. He ain't bothered about it. If they made 5 billion and he made 100 quid, Tiger Woods would be carrying on, wouldn't he? But that doesn't happen. Because everybody's getting a piece of the cake. And that's why pool players are so much unrest. Because there's only so much getting a piece of the pie and so very little for everybody else.
So the guy who asked the question, Darren Sticky Madden,
yeah.
He said he's going to email the UK in the morning and tell them that you said that their banning policy is tough.
I know.
That's very nice of him.
I actually know Darren. Actually, say hello to him.
He actually also did offer you a money match earlier, but you have to play with your cue in your mouth as well.
Oh, brilliant, mate, brilliant. I've played him. He's too good for me.
Right. So also the question came up. What do you think to the rules changing mid-tournament in the last Supreme Series because of Liam Dunster's tactic?
Oh, who's asked that?
I knew that would come up at some point.
Malcolm Wally.
Oh, what do I think? Oh, God, I started something here. I'm going to get in trouble now.
You said you didn't mind going political.
Should you tag me Kevin to watch it?
Should you change the rules halfway through? No, of course not. I think Lee probably knows that himself. That he shouldn't have done it. I
Very
think
unfair.
He's obviously copped a lot of flack. He's copped a lot of flack for it. I can understand why. What I will say is, I'm not saying that I agree with it by any stretch of the imagination. But I know why he done it. I know why he done it, and I think And I'm not saying that Liam's wrong either. He's playing well within the rights and he's playing well within what he's doing. But I feel like, from a different point, from a different perspective, because we're trying to get the game where we want it to be. And as I said, Liam's not wrong for doing what he's doing. That's his style, and he's well within his right. Just like we were saying, Peter Ebden's well within his right to take 10 minutes to make a 20 break, and Ronnie's made a 147. But the top and bottom of it is in all these sort of games or sports or whatever, they've all got this figurehead that people want to watch. And the reason why I think he's put a stop to it is the fear that half a dozen players start doing it. What happens if you get on the stream, on the main table, and you start tapping your pack and people just start turning off, and you're trying to get sponsors and you're trying to show sponsors how many viewing figures that you've had, and it might not be Liam, it might be me. I might think, I can't make a ball off the break, it's 8 each in the final, I'm going to tap the pack. Now I'm not saying, I know the thing there on the nip might be, yeah, but he wouldn't have done it to you, but that's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is whether he should have done it halfway through the tournament or not. Well, no, he shouldn't, he knows that. But why he done it, and can I get on board with why he done it? Yeah, I can. Because like I said, if you get half a dozen players doing it, because they can't make a ball off the break, you've no product to sell to anybody, because people are just going to turn off. They don't want to watch half an hour tactical frames. They just, nobody wants to. I mean, try watching chess on telly. I mean, you've got to be such a connoisseur. You get the skill level, it's great. Kasparov's brilliant, isn't he? Yeah, but you're not going to watch it really, in all truth. So, should he have done it? No. Can I get my head around why he's done it? Yes, absolutely.
We've got a message from Jonathan Wong that says that Kane's going to block you.
I'm going to block me. Do you want one more, or you had enough?
Actually, I've got a
Are we
request.
going to get more questions from sort of, in-jokes and conversations that we've had that no one in the room is following? Or a question from someone?
Well, anybody that wants to ask a question.
Let's see what's on the internet.
I'd just be interested in the clarification of what the guy did on tapping the break and what the rules changed.
Yeah, okay, right, yeah, okay, that's a fair point. Basically, there was a situation at the last tournament where one of the players felt like he wanted to change things up a little bit in the match.
Yeah.
And he tapped the pack, basically he tapped the break.
What do you mean tapped?
Just
Nothing
made a couple of balls come out of the rack.
What, 2 balls at the cushion to
Yeah.
make it legal?
Yeah, basically.
Wanted to grind out the match.
Yeah, basically tap the pack, and two or 3 or 4, whatever. I'm not going to get put on quote of how many it was. I didn't see it. But basically, there was still left with a cluster of balls to play a tap, like you used to play, like the old EP, and tap the pack. And basically, the organiser, which was Lee, come over and stopped him doing it. He's basically gone, we'll have less of that. That's not what we're trying to do, or where we're at with things. So, again, don't quote me word for word, but something along those lines. And there was a big, obviously, stink up about it on the internet, the fact that the player's been told that they can't do that when it's in the rules that they can. Lee's defence was he wasn't familiar with the black ball rules because he's a predominant world rules player, and he wasn't aware that was allowed. I can't speak for Lee, you'd have to ask him that.
I thought black ball rules, two have got to come down.
Well, again, I'm not necessarily up to it as far as the ins and outs of it. I just hit the balls and then whatever.
Okay, yes.
I just think that Lee should have ventured into a game that he didn't know.
But the top and bottom of basically is you can do that within the rules.
Okay.
And Lee decided that he didn't want that to happen, and he told him to stop doing it.
Okay.
So the big fuss was Lee shouldn't have told him to stop doing it because it's within the rules halfway through the tournament, and there was a big, a big thing about it, and that was the question that was basically asked. What was my opinion on it? Basically, that was what that was the debating question.
Ever win that tournament,
Well,
giving away your prize.
the lad's a very good player. He does win his fair share of events, so I don't know.
I bet he didn't win that one.
Have you beaten?
I've never actually played it. Never played it.
Would you like to?
I don't see what happens.
Kevin Moore's asked, have you got any funny stories from travelling the world, China, USA?
Tell him no. He's a pesty.
He just wants dirt on people, that's all he wants.
Right, I'm having one more, then I'll jump the ball in the shoe and get up the M40.
Actually, special request. Could you say hello to Adam Kirk, who is actually your biggest
Oh,
fan?
Adam, how you doing, mate? Yeah, do you still love me?
He does still love you.
Right, one more question then.
If you wasn't playing pool, what would you want to do?
Right, that's a good question to finish, isn't it? If I wasn't playing pool, what would I be doing?
Working.
Probably signing off. I would say, well, what would I like to do? Let's get the first things first. What would I like to do? I'd quite like to be Lewis Hamilton driving a Formula 1 car.
Reality job.
That would be good, wouldn't it? Being a Formula 1 driver, I could get on board with that. I'd love to be a golfer, travelling the world, playing in the sunshine all the time. Basically, the golfers just follow the sunshine. If it's bad weather in one country, they go and play in a country where the weather's good. So, I mean, from a sporting perspective, being a big sporting fan, I think if I could be anything, it probably would be a Formula 1 driver or a golfer. In the real world, probably something that involves, I don't know, maybe something on the stock exchange or something. You know, where you get that kind of that little bit of a buzz of kind of you've sealed this deal, or kind, you know, something like I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, maybe. I mean, that, like, I don't know.
I could see you selling Ferraris.
I wouldn't mind being 50 billion behind Bill Gates or something like that. You know, that kind of job would interest me. But no, I think something that would make me want to get up on a morning and think, what's today going to bring? I think I'd find it kind of difficult to do the same thing every day. I wouldn't necessarily see myself in an office job.
Repetitive.
Yeah, I don't think I'd fit in something that was repetitive, because I think it would probably frustrate me. So I think I'd like something where every day you wake up, you kind of not
every
sure.
day
Yeah,
is a new day.
something different. You're not sure what you're going to get. You're not sure what you get. So anything in particular, not really, but something.
You'd be good as a copper then.
I'd make a good politician, I think. Right, okay, so thanks for the questions, thanks for everybody on the stream. It's the first time I've ever done it with the stream. So, yeah, no dad, I'll go home tonight, go on Facebook, and there'll be a Mick Hill page if he said this and he said that. As you do. But no, I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed trying to answer your questions, and I've enjoyed, you know, trying to give you my point of view on things, and obviously with everybody, the viewers at home. Hope you've enjoyed it and helped you out a little bit. So, just to finish things off, now I'm really under pressure because I'm on the stream. Now I'm really under pressure. Okay, so we're going to finish off with the shoe shot. Okay, now the shoe shot is a very, very famous trick shot. I believe, I may be wrong, but the first person I ever saw do it was a Scottish player, fantastic player, you know, one of the best players ever to play in most people's opinion. A guy named Ross McInnes. He's won a lot of tournaments. I was only very young when Ross was playing, but he, to my knowledge, or certainly he was the first person that I saw do it. I've seen Carl Morris and Chris Mellin and various other people do it after that, but I'm pretty sure that Ross was the first one to do it. So what we're basically going to do is we're going to jump the cue ball off the table into someone's shoe. Okay, hence the shoe shot. Okay, now I'm not bad at it, probably not as good as them lads, but I'll have a go. I'll get 3 attempts. I do get 3 attempts, so you're going to have to give me that.
Whistle free.
So if I miss all 3, well, I'm going to get laughed at anyway, you know, so can I borrow your shoe? No?
Do you like my flip-flop?
So,
Gary, what's on?
so there's a couple. Do you want to do this way? Okay, there's a couple of ways that you can do the shoot shot.
Just don't hit the camera.
You can do the shoot shot with it being flat on the floor, or you can do it where you lean it up against the chair. I'm not sure what's easier or harder, but I'm going to use the chair anyway so I don't smash anything that's valuable in the corner. So
Flat on the floor is actually perfectly fine.
It's a bit hard on the floor.
yeah.
The chair anyway.
Yeah, but we already have the easier chair ready.
It's all right, isn't it? We already had the easy chair ready. So
Yeah, I think
we don't do it that way.
Across there, towards the ladies over in the corner.
Right.
Should we move?
Lala, get ready.
Listen to the word, darling.
Can I just ask you to... Sorry about this.
Nothing's going to go in.
It's his fault. It's not far enough. Are you sure?
Yeah.
Do it back here.
Sorry about this. I don't need this chair then, do I?
Oh, God.
I'm so sorry.
If anybody's interested in any exhibitions, this is the chaos that I cause. Oh dear.
I'm already on YouTube now.
Yeah, Ben Marshall's already saw me on YouTube.
Right, okay, so whether it's supposed to be on the floor, however it's supposed to be, this is my version of it anyway. So, just to finish things off, I just want to say thanks to everybody here for the evening. I've really enjoyed it. It's a great club. Come on down, you know, play some pool, and you know it's a fun place to be. And I'm now going to jump the ball into this shoe. And I'm getting 3 attempts. If you don't like it, you can lump it.
Just don't look my hair.
It's not a big target, actually, is it? Okay, so attempt number 1 for the shoot shot. Is this live?
Why are you standing?
Oh dear. I'm being under some serious pressure now.
Oh!
See, I told you Ross and Chris was better than me, didn't I?
No, I think it's usually slower.
Do you want my shoes?
Makes it more of a challenge.
Okay, I need to give it a little bit more.
Oh, hang on.
That'll do. I need to give it a bit more oomph.
Spread it, spread it.
Stop it.
Mick,
This
go
shoe
sort
does
out.
not. There you go.
Dodgy.
Dodgy.
There we go.
I tried to do that, but it's not.
Gary, that's
ski
your
whip.
foot, mate.
Oh, there you go. Well
A
done.
big ski whip. Right, attempt number 2. Nerve-wracking, isn't it?
Are you nervous? And guess
Too
what?
much.
The shoe didn't move.
You realise you're costing me a fortune in bookings having this live. You can't even get the shoot shot, can he?
Right, that's unlucky.
One slap.
Dear.
Do you only get 3 shots? We'll give you 1 more. Come on.
How many shots have I got?
1.
After this one, we'll put a bit of cloth on the table.
I'm climbing that one. I'm climbing that one. Right, thank you very much. Cheers for having me. Alright, cheers, thank you. Cheers, thank you. How did we go with
That's
that?
the end of the Mick Hill exhibition. Thanks everybody for watching.
Just before you all leave, there has been a queue going around, and it's a raffle, and you get a chance to win the signed queue at the end of it. It's £2 strip free for a £5. If anybody wants any tickets before we do the draw, grab them now.
Are you going to be picking out the number? Pick out one of mine.
I'll try.
We're going to get